Gaze reading where the greats drop by. Trendy authors tell us all the who, what, and why. Anyone can listen, cause we're spoiler free. Gaze reading, from Pulitzer stars to book club picks, where the curious minds can get their fix. So you say you're not gay, well that's okay. There's something for everyone. Gaze reading.
Hello and welcome to Gaze Reading. I'm your host, Jason Blitman, and on today's episode, I have author Tom Ryan talking to me about his book, We Had a Hunch, and then I have RuPaul's Drag Race Queen Extraordinaire, Kimchi, who's my guest gay reader today and talks to me about two different books, her cookbook, Kimchi Eats the World, as well as a YA book that she has out now as well. Both of their bios are in the show notes. And if you like what you're hearing, share us with your friends. Follow us on social media. We are at Gaze Reading over on Instagram. Last night, I had the pleasure of being in conversation with author Stephen Rowley for his new holiday novella, The Dogs of Venice. So make sure to check that out. So it makes a really terrific holiday gift. We just announced the new book club through Alstora, which of course is I Am You by Victoria Redel. I had a spoiler-free conversation with Victoria that came out last week. You could check that out. Last week, I also had a What Are You Reading episode with Scott and Mark Hoying talking about their children's book and also what they've been reading. Scott, of course, is on Dancing with the Stars right now and has been doing super well, as far as I understand. My mom and sisters tell me so. And what else? Oh, another What Are You Reading episode with Heather Amy O'Neill, who wrote The Irish Goodbye, which is a wonderful family drama, the current Read with Jenna book club pick. Thank you so much for being here and enjoy my conversations with Tom Ryan and Kimchi. Very happy to have you here, Tom Ryan. Welcome to Gaze Reading.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I love interviews, and as you know, I broke my ankle recently, and I have not seen very many people other than family members dropping off food. So this is a real jump into the social world beyond the walls of my house. So
Great.
For having me.
It's my pleasure. We can have hangout time and talk about broken limbs, which is
I'm ready.
Very classy. I should send you pictures of my X-rays from when I broke mine.
Please don't. I wouldn't look at my X-rays. When I went into the emerge, they asked, "Do you want to see?" I said, "No, I couldn't do it." I'm not worried with blood. I've never broken a bone, and something about it just really hit at a part of my brain that had never been accessed, and I just don't want to see what's going on in there.
Yeah,
and I don't want to see what's going on in your leg either. So, no offense.
I will save you. It's fine. But I was alone in my apartment in New York City and had to call 911 for myself when it happened. And when the EMS guys got me to the ER, they brought me to the trauma center. I was so out of it. It was a crazy day. And this one very handsome, might I add, EMS guy leaned over the gurney and he was like, "Give me your phone. You're going to want a picture of this for later."
It's smooth.
And I was like, okay. And sure enough, I am so grateful that I have a photo of what it looked like before a cast went on. And I won't obviously share with you, but the EMS guy knew.
So did you stay in touch?
No, he didn't ask for my phone number. He just asked for the phone to take a picture.
Oh,
I should have given him my phone number.
That's a different movie.
I know. Oh, I would read that book or watch that movie. Mm-hmm. Speaking of books, we're here to talk about We Had a Hunch, your new baby.
Yeah.
Which obviously your pub celebrations have looked differently, I imagine, than you originally imagined, with crutches and such.
A little bit. I've only had I was at two festivals the weeks leading up to this, so I did a bit of pre-launch stuff out in the world, and everything else has been online. I did have to push a few things off. The first week I was in a lot of pain, so I just couldn't. And fortunately, this worked out well because we both needed to move it a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally it's weird. Launching is very strange. This is my first time I've launched in Canada and the US on 2 different days.
Oh.
They always come out on the same day, but for whatever reason, my Canadian publisher dropped a week early, so that was a bit weird. And generally, once you've done this a few times, you realize that a lot of the excitement is in the build-up, and the launch day itself is it's great because it's out there, and you can say my book's out there, but you've been building up. So there's been so much energy put into the build up that it becomes a flat, calm day. People are screaming at you on social media, but internally it's more of closing a chapter. That's done. I've done my part. And of course there'll be more stuff coming up down the road. But yeah, it is out there, and now I'm getting reviews and people are telling me they've read it, and that's always fun, mostly fun.
So what is your elevator pitch for We Had a Hunch?
We Had a Hunch is so this is my...
He says with a deep sigh.
I love the elevator pitch. There's so much going on. How do I tighten it? I need to give a bit of background. The background is that I used to write young adult mysteries, and I used to love as a kid young adult mysteries. Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, you name it. And when I made the leap to adult mysteries, a question that kind of lingered for me was, what happens to the teen detectives? Because I used to write them, I used to read about teen detectives. What happens when they grow up and hit middle age? And this is their background. And what happens when they get dragged back into the sleuthing world? So that's the really tight elevator pitch, is what happens to your favorite teen detectives when they grow up. The broader story is these three. Is that good?
That's okay. That's totally fine. Yeah. I hate reading a blurb.
Yeah.
Because typically it gives away so much plot.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think for most readers, if you really need to know more than a sentence, fine, go look it up. But also I will say the first two big chunks of the back of the book just says Nancy Drew meets Yellow Jackets.
Yep.
Right. And so I think that's another great way of giving a sense of what a vibe is going to be.
100%. In this case, I think it fits.
No, I agree. I didn't watch Yellow Jackets, but seeing that on the back of the book, I looked up what the premise of Yellow Jackets is. And also, coincidentally, this has been happening a lot in my conversations recently, where I've consumed real life content that was related to a conversation that I was about to have. But I just watched the BTK documentary on Netflix. Does that mean anything to you?
Remind me, I know BTK. I'm steeped in true crime to the point that which one is BTK?
BTK is, I don't remember what the B is, but it's something torture kill.
Right, bind, torture, kill.
Bind, torture, kill. And it was this serial killer that they didn't solve the crime until sort of decades after things were happening. And it was very, without giving anything away, it was so relevant to... It was a good companion piece to the book, which was a fun surprise as I was watching.
Was it a DNA solve? You know how they're finding all of these, they're going back to all these cold cases because the family matches are showing up?
Right. It was not exactly, that was a component of how they solved the crime, but that isn't why they revisited it. Yeah, it was very similar in terms of the back and forth time period in relation to this book. Anyway,
fantastic.
I remember as a kid being so afraid of the TV show Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh my God, yes. Love.
You said it with such emphasis. Say more.
My brothers and I, so I grew up in Nova Scotia in a very small town. We had 2 TV stations. We had no cable of any kind. Okay. And we got Unsolved Mysteries. And what was the other? Unsolved Mysteries was with Robert Stack. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
And the other one was Rescue 911, which was more kind of real life ambulance stories. But Unsolved Mysteries, my brothers and I were obsessed. It was everything from ghosts to aliens and so scary.
Yeah. I couldn't sleep at night after watching it. Because I think even to this day, the thing that is, I'm not scared of someone breaking in. I'm not scared. There's a lot that I'm not scared of. I'm scared of the face in the window.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You look up, you're comfortable, and then, okay. Have you ever seen Communion? Have you seen the movie Communion?
No.
It's aliens. It's a little bit adjacent, but there's a scene where the guy is just in his apartment and he turns and there's a face in the corner of the room, and literally the most chilling thing you've ever seen. So yes, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And for some reason, just the concept of Unsolved Mysteries, a face in the window is that for me, right? I can't explain why, but I think there's just someone knows more than you do.
Yeah. It's the vulnerability piece. And
yes.
the thought that you are in your space, it's the window, because you're in your space. You're supposed to be safe in your space. The door is locked and all of a sudden somebody's there. They're going to find a way to get in. That's the heart of so much horror and thriller writing.
Yeah. And so the book talks a lot about it's a journey of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, I think, where my mind goes to in terms of unsolved mysteries. Do you have any of those in your own life, do you think?
Any unsolved mysteries?
Yeah. Or like whatever that means to you. I don't necessarily mean like a crime or.
I was always, so I really grew, I can't emphasize how remote my childhood was. We're in a very small town, but we were well outside of the town on this sort of a gravel road with abandoned farms. And it was just me and my brothers. We were the only kids. So we spent a lot of time in that sort of environment on our bikes. And I was the oldest, and I was a very imaginative kid and prone to drama. And I would basically drag my three little brothers around with me, and we would explore these old houses, and we would do stuff today you wouldn't let your kids just roam free like this. And there was a lot of spookiness built into that. I remember just creating these scenarios where we would go into this. I remember one house in particular was this old abandoned farmhouse that probably no one had lived in for 50 years. And it was just structurally sound enough that you could squeeze the door open and you could squeeze into the house. The floor in the kitchen had collapsed into an old root cellar, and we would skirt around the edges and go upstairs in this house that four little kids should not have been in this house. And I just remember being in there with my brothers and just winding us all up in the sense that something's going on here. There's a reason that we're in this house. There's a reason that this house made itself available to us. And everything about that was scary and spooky.
Yeah.
And that's a vibe of the area that I grew up in. We did one time find a garbage bag full of weed in one of these houses, which isn't really scary.
A garbage bag full
black trash bag. And
wow.
we would be looking for secret passages and stuff. And we found this hidden ceiling in this old house. And I kicked it up with an old broomstick, and this bag fell down, and it was new. Some guy was hiding his stash.
Yeah.
And it was all wrapped up. So to us, we were out solving mysteries. We never solved it, but we never knew who did it. But we thought, oh, wow, we're caught up in a mystery. This is just the world that we're living in.
Yeah, that's really fun. Is that, do you think, what influenced your interest in Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, or your writing young adult mysteries?
Yeah, absolutely. Part of it. So I was really an isolated, your typical gay bookworm kid. I was very introverted, very isolated, didn't have a lot of friends, not bullied so much as just off by myself. And I was not a kid who imagined myself being a sports hero or a space or a fantasy person. I pictured myself solving mysteries. That was my thing. And so the teen detective genre was perfect for me. And when I was about 9 or 10, I was in my local hospital for a week. I had respiratory issues. And there was a tiny children's ward with 4 beds, and I was the only kid in there. And in the corner of this room, they had this massive bookcase full of Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys titles. So the blue-spined Hardy Boys and the yellow-spined Nancy Drew. And that's when I first discovered those books, which I don't know if you read them, but there are a million of them. And oh my gosh, they're so addictive. They're really, when you look back at them now, they're really tame in so many ways. And they're really, gender roles there's a lot going on in terms of training today's youth. But the mysteries are really fun and really campy. And there would be mysterious, the face in the window. There was a lot of the face in the window in Nancy Drew. If you look at a lot of those covers. And just these kind of clean jean, squeaky clean teenagers getting caught up in solving crimes and mysteries and chasing down kidnappers and stuff. So yeah, it was a sweet spot for me, always. I always loved mysteries. And I graduated, obviously, to more mature stuff because I was a serious reader, and I got into everything from Agatha Christie to Stephen King, anything mysterious and thrillery at a pretty young age, but it began with those books, for sure.
There are like so many things I'm curious about, but because you have just talked about how well read you are in the genre, is there much that surprises you anymore?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The thing is, it's funny because with movies, no, I love film, but I got to a point where I was watching movies. I can always guess what's going to happen in a movie, but a well-written, almost always I know what's happening in a movie. It's just, and you see the artifice behind the scenes, and I can't have that full disconnect from reality watching a film the way I used to. But with books, no problem. I can sink into a story and be completely surprised. And there are so much good stuff being written right now in the mystery and thriller corner of publishing that I feel like I'm constantly being surprised. There's just amazing stuff always. I would say I read as much as I listen to audiobooks. It's half. And I don't know if I'm likelier to see things coming when I'm reading. I think maybe I am, because that's my mode. That's my medium, is
Mm-hmm.
the written word. But when I'm listening, for sure, I'm just caught up in the stories. And yeah, I'm surprised all the time. There's great
Yeah.
stuff being written.
That's really fun. This has nothing to do with We Had a Hunch, but I feel like the more content I consume,
Yep.
the more options I'm able to see when it comes to solving something in a book. For example, having watched and loved Mayor of Easttown, the
Yep.
TV series,
Loved it.
watching that, there was a book that I read where I guessed something because I was keyed into it as a concept from Mayor of Easttown. And my husband reads this genre or historically more than me. So sometimes he'll read a book and see something coming faster than I, because he just like, the sort of sampler platter for him is bigger, which is why I was asking if having this sort of, there are only so many stories, right?
There are, and I don't want to give the wrong impression. There are many books that I read and I am not surprised, and I see it coming from chapter 3 all the time. And I think, and that a lot of that is sometimes it's, and no names, obviously. I think writers like any other creative, you get better as you write. So a lot of the time, some debuts I find I can see so much potential in this writer, but the story is just a little bit just on the surface. You can see things coming. The beats are really obvious. Mm-hmm. But there is so much stuff written by, and some debuts, some kind of early in their career writers who are just doing stuff that I've never seen before. And so it's a matter, and that's half the fun in reading. When you're when you're an obsessive reader, like I am and always have been, half the fun is getting through as much as you can so that you can find those titles and you can recommend them to other people. Right?
Yeah. Chris Whitaker's All the Colors of the Dark. I don't know if you read it.
I sure did, yeah.
Love the book, love Chris, and that is a great example for me of, I felt like I thought I was 10 steps ahead when I was reading the book, but I was actually only half a step ahead, because it would get to a moment and I would be like, oh, this is how the book is going to end. And then 2 pages later, that thing would happen. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, that is such a great book. It's a good example of what I'm talking about with regards to totally out of nowhere new type of book.
Yeah.
That fits in the model. And another one is Liz Moore. Have you read Liz Moore's God of the Woods?
I did. Yeah.
So good. I love that book. And for the same sort of reasons, I felt like it had a lot of the vibiness and the atmosphere and the familiarity of a classic crime novel, but so much happened in there that I just did not see coming. And the structure was so interesting, and the back and forth timeline was just impressively handled. I thought that book was just fantastic. And Chris Whitaker, I don't know if you've met or interviewed him, but he has such an amazing backstory. Oh my goodness.
I have met and interviewed him in person and on the podcast, and I love that man very much.
Yeah, he's great. I was on a panel with him last year, and we all had to do a little introduction, and what a story. Of course he became a writer, right?
I know. His story is, talk about taking his trauma and turning it into art.
Yeah, no kidding.
God of the Woods, and some books in general, you get to the end of a story and you're like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
You almost think you'd guessed it already because it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that to me is, not to stay on it for too long, but that to me is the mark of a perfect novel, or a beautifully done novel, is one where you get to the end and you hadn't seen it coming. And your reaction at the end is surprise and of course. I think that when a novel leaves you feeling that way, the novelist has really done their job. Because as a mystery reader in particular, where you're trying to solve this logic puzzle, the reader is engaged in a mystery book more than they are in a lot of different types of fiction, because they're really working alongside the sleuth, the investigator, to figure out what happened. So it's a really connected way to engage, for the writer and the reader to engage, because you know that you're setting out this logic puzzle for your reader to follow. And so there are a lot of ways that can go wrong, but when it's handled right and when it lands nice, there's nothing better. I love it.
So to close the loop on that, I will say I had a similar experience with the end of We Had a Hunch, where I was like, of course this makes sense. But the thing that was surprising, which is almost more fun, is the why.
Yeah.
And that was very surprising in this book. And I think in other books too, even if you guess what's coming, to then understand and have it unpacked.
Yeah.
And for that meaning to mean something different, that's a really nice surprise. Okay, you talked about working alongside of the sleuth.
Yeah.
So much of this book, and I think obviously a lot of the genre in general, is the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah.
What is that for you on a daily basis?
In my writing or in my
No,
life?
in all of the above. What is that thing that like keeps you going?
For me, this is probably a really boring answer, but for me, I'm pushing 50. I'm very firmly in middle age. I have a lot of the bullshit of my younger years is behind me. I'm in I have a very stable, nice life. Things are great in so many ways personally. And I have been able over the past few years to slide into a professional zone that I've dreamed off my whole life, which is I'm writing the kinds of books I wanted to write. I'm not a juggernaut bestseller by any means, but I am building a readership, and I am connected to two publishers, one in Canada and one in the US, who work together with a lot of enthusiasm and trust in me as a writer. And so I have books lined up for the next few years. Things are set. And so for me, what keeps me going is honestly, it's the work. I love writing generally, but I really love writing mysteries. And it took me a while. I stumbled around. I wrote young adult contemporary for a while, and then I accidentally got into YA mystery. And that taught me that mystery was the right space for me, but I knew I needed to get out of YA because I was aging out. I couldn't do any more high school visits. I was beyond it. I was never good at it, but the older I got, the worse I became at it. But what it really happened for me was I had a professional setback where my two YA mysteries did really well critically. They won lots of awards. They put me on the map in a critical sense. And then I wrote what I thought was my masterpiece, and it died on submission. I took 2 years away. I thought, here I am, I've got some momentum. Let's write this killer book. And it died on submission. And at that point, I decided I have to do something different. It was like, and it was a YA book. And it felt like the universe was saying, you're done with YA. So that's when I started writing my last mystery, The Treasure Hunters Club. I promise I'm getting to answer your question.
Yeah, that's okay.
And when I started writing my first adult mystery, I knew, and it was my 9th book. I'd written so many YA titles.
Wow.
I knew at that point, I'd always loved writing. Every book I wrote, I loved them in the moment. I loved taking them out and talking about them. I still have a lot of fondness for those books, especially the mysteries. But when I started writing an adult mystery, and it's nothing against young adult. I love young adult fiction. I still read a lot of it. But it was, for me, the canvas became broader. I could write about any age of character. And I love this book, my last book, are both big multi-character. There are 3 main characters in each one. There are lots of side characters. They're big casts. I love that kind of story. And so when I hit that sweet spot, and Treasure Hunters Club did really well, certainly my best-selling book and my most successful book in a lot of ways, I realized this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And there's so much more that I want to do with it. And there's so much I want to achieve. And I want to become better, and I want to become better, and I want to become better. And I feel like everything is set up now for me to have the opportunity to attempt that. So I take what I do really seriously, and I love it. It's so much fun. So for me, the thrill of it all is in how can I take this book, learn from the last book, and then make sure that I learn from this one and take it to the next book. It's like the ongoing chasing the dragon, but I feel like I do get closer with every book to what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I am so curious. What's the Cliff Note version of how you stumbled into YA mysteries?
I was always going to write. I wrote as a kid. I wrote through high school. I did an English literature degree. I took creative writing classes at college. Afterwards, I went and got I worked in the film industry for years, but I kept writing stories, and I was trying to write screenplays. I was trying to make a living telling stories, but it was always novels. I wanted to write novels, and I did want to write mysteries. And at a certain point, I think it was 2010, my husband, who at the time was in the Canadian Navy, we were living on the east coast of Canada, and he was posted unexpectedly to the west coast of Canada. So I had to quit my job. I had a good job, and it came out of nowhere. And he said to me, when he came home from work with this sort of shell-shocked look on his face, I'm being posted to British Columbia. You should quit your job, and you should take a year to try to write a novel, which is a pretty great thing for your partner to say. And I didn't need to be really convinced. And so I got out there. Because he was in the Navy, we moved to this other part of the country. I knew nobody. And he went off to sea on a Navy ship for 6 months. And I thought, this is a great setup. It was just me and the dog in this new city. And I started trying to write an adult mystery, because mysteries was the thing. But I wanted to meet people. So I went online and I looked in the city I was in, and I Googled whether there were any writing classes. And there was one writing class called Writing and Publishing for Young Adults. It was the only one being offered. So I took it just to meet people. And I was working on this kind of dinky little, and in retrospect, the mystery I was writing was really shitty. I'm really happy that was not the book I tried to submit. But I took this class with this woman who was an acquisitions editor at a YA house, and she liked my work, and she said, you should write something for me. And it was the sort of opportunity of an editor willing to take a book, so I pivoted.
Wow.
That's how it happened. Yeah.
Imagine if the class was like something very different.
I know, urban fantasy.
Exactly.
Yeah. A totally different experience.
Oh, that's so interesting. You said you were trying to tell stories. There's
Yeah.
an influencer character in the book, and he gets asked, "Are you an influencer?" And the response is, "I consider myself more of a storyteller."
Yeah.
How do I want to ask this? You've told stories in different ways
Yeah.
in your career. What has that journey been like for you? And have you found it fulfilling in general?
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
So fulfilling. And for me, it really was. I knew that I wanted to write novels. That was, and I dabble with all kinds of stuff. I really did try to work for a long time in my city in Nova Scotia. There was a film industry that was booming, and it seemed like an opportunity to get out and maybe tell stories on for TV and film, which I still aspired. I'd love to be able to write for the screen, but it was novels. I wanted to write books because that's what I had connected with so strongly. That's the stories that spoke to me the most were the books that I remembered. So
Yeah.
when I first, even going back to that class, the young adult class, when I first started writing, it was very much, I had set off on this journey to the West Coast with this goal in mind. I've written loads of short stories. I didn't know how to write a novel. And so I set out to teach myself how to write a novel. And I read On Writing by Stephen King. I read Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. I read all the learning how to write classics. But then I took this class with this YA editor, and she was really all about story. What's the story? What's the story? What's the story? All the fancy language, all the beautiful characters, all the great scenes, wonderful stuff. But if you don't have a story at the heart of it, your readers won't stick with you. And that was a really great lesson to learn early on. And it was a lesson that continues to stick with me. Story for me, I don't write literary fiction. I would aspire to do a Chris Whitaker type stuff. Liz Moore, Tana French is a big favorite of mine. They write what you call it literary thrillers, literary mysteries. And I hope to someday be good enough to write that kind of story where it's a mystery. But first, for me, at every step of the way, the story has been the most important thing, and getting better at telling a story. And when you're first starting, you learn your 3-act structure. You learn where your beats are. You read Save the Cat, and you know that you need X, Y, and Z for the story to fall into place. But over time, the more you write, the more you absorb those lessons. And then that frees up your brain to start finding other things and to become more nuanced and to bring in different interesting character subplots. And I don't know if I'm rambling here, but the crux of it is that the joy for me is in finding the perfectly fine-tuned story that still surprises. It's so much fun.
And what I'm hearing too is that, yes, you've been a storyteller for your career in these different avenues, but in the practice of it all, you've been able to fine tune and allow the quote unquote work to not be as apparent, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I think and as with everything, it's the practice piece. Because I'm fortunate enough to write mostly full-time, I have a lot of time to practice, and I don't take it for granted, and I take it really seriously. One of the things, anyone who writes for a living, or everyone who writes and is published, gets a lot of questions from a lot of aspiring writers, and I always try to take as much time as I can with people who come up to me and say, I've written a book, or I want to write a book. I take it really seriously. I was that person. I'm still that person. And one of the things that I have found sad over the years, and this has probably been true forever, but in this era of instant gratification, people take the time to write a book, and that's an amazing accomplishment. To write and to finish your first novel it's such an unimaginable achievement when you've wanted to do it forever. But that book is not always the book that needs to be published, and or it's not might not all. And sometimes the first book you've written will be fantastic, and it will hit the New York Times list, and that's wonderful. More often than not, it was a learning experience, and you need to take what you learn and take it to the next book, because the practice is where the good material comes from. And so that's the lesson I try to get across to people as nicely as I can, is if you've written a book, try and make something happen with it by all means. But if it doesn't, don't put it in a drawer and go on to other things. Take what you learn from that experience and take it to the next project, and it will be better. I guarantee you. And the one after that will be even better.
I was just talking to a friend yesterday. She, worked for years on this romance novel that she's been excited about and now feels like she's in that place. And she's like, I don't know that this is the book. Yeah. And I was like, girl, you learned, this was your MFA in creative writing that you didn't have to pay for. You paid for it in your time. Exactly. So now work on that. Work on the thing that you think might be the book. I have a handful of ideas for novels. There's one that actually is, okay, that's a really good idea, but I don't have the patience. So I don't have the patience to write and to rewrite. And all of my novelist friends who are going through the editing stages with their editor, like they have a deal and everything. I'm like, that is not for me.
Not right now. Not right now. I can't imagine that you have all these great conversations. At some point, it's got to bubble up.
It's funny. It's less about the conversations and more about the reading. The amount that I read, the more, not that I think, I could do that too. I don't think that, but I do see how stories can be told, how many stories can be told, how stories can be told in different ways. And that is what is inspiring. And you're like, there is no one way. True. And your voice can matter in a space that feels full.
Yeah. And there is a lot of rereading. There's so much rereading. And when you write a book, you have to read it so many times. And this is the thing nobody understands. And I saw on, I think, Instagram last night, somebody posted this meme. It was, writing a book is a lot like reading a book, except that the book hates you.
and you have to read it 800 times.
Every day for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny. Okay. Who did you play in your high school production of Once Upon a Mattress?
Oh my, how did you know? It's in the book. You're the first person to ask me. No, my editors didn't ask me. I was Sir Harry.
So I also did Once Upon a Mattress in high school.
What were you? Who were you?
So in high school, I played the minstrel.
Okay.
I was also the set designer, and I choreographed some things. And I was a very busy high schooler. But when I was in summer camp as a young person, and we at a theater camp, and we did Once Upon a Mattress, I played Sir Harry.
No kidding.
I did.
Oh my God, synergy! I love it. I could still do that. This was my final year in university, and we had a musical theater society, and they would do one show a year. We did Crazy for You the year before that, and I had so much fun. I can sing every line of it. I'm not going to do it right now, but oh my God, I love that play.
I know it's really fun, fun. But because it's mentioned in the book, I was like, Once Upon a Mattress is such a quintessential high school musical. And yet, if you didn't have an experience with it, why would you pick that? You clearly had, there was a story, whether maybe your best friend did it, but I knew my hunch was that you did it in school. And sure enough.
This is Barbara Walters level journalism. You did your emotional research. I really did. And the other thing is I try to write visually. I like to think I write visually, and I try to imagine the scenes and the settings and the places really vividly, and then portray that on the page. And because I knew that scene, I helped paint. I was also a backstage painter. It was the same sort of thing, like everybody was doing everything. Yeah. And I remember those scenes. I remember those sets so clearly. So for me, when I was setting that high school gymnasium up, that abandoned school, there was also an abandoned school in my hometown that was. Oh. So I had that with the Once Upon a Mattress sets molding in the corner. And I was able to envision that and write it so easily because I'd spent so much time in that space.
That's really funny. Yeah, I knew it. Also, Barbara Walters' level of journalism is going on as a quote on my website.
I hope so. You can have that.
So the book takes place not over 2 time periods. There's a prologue that takes place earlier, but there is an element of quote unquote coming home. Yeah. What is that like for you? You said you're in your hometown now. Yeah. What were you like as a young person? Was writing from this perspective, did that dust up sort of young person memories for you?
Not really at this point, because I've done that in previous books. I've done my first book was a contemporary gay coming of age set in a small seaside town in the 90s with a 17-year-old coming out gay protagonist who worked at a restaurant, and that was it. So I did all that therapy stuff back then.
Yeah.
However, I did take a lot aesthetically and geographically. Like I said, I like to visualize. I also like to know the layout of the towns that I'm writing and the areas I'm writing. So a lot of that came from the town that I'm in. And the homecoming part I think also did really seep in, because we have moved around quite a bit. As I said, I was a military spouse for years until just 2 years ago. And my town is quite remote. It's called Inverness. It's a really pretty town on an island called Cape Breton Island on the end of Nova Scotia. And so it takes some effort to get here, but it's a great place to be. And a few years ago, we bought some land, and long story short, we have a little cottage here. And so I've been spending a lot more time in my hometown in the past few years that I left. Like, I was 18 and I was out of here. And 1995, I graduated high school. So it was not the best time to be a closeted gay teenager in a remote small town. So I wanted to go to college and figure out who I was. But things have changed a lot, and I've grown up quite a bit, and I realize how great it is here. So coming back and being in my hometown, I think I was able to transpose some of those vibes onto especially the character of Samantha, who has been away forever for her own traumatic reasons. She left, and she comes back, and I think she starts to see the town through different eyes when she gets back to town. She sees it more for the positives than the negatives, and that was my experience for sure.
Are you the kind of person who would go to your 30-year reunion?
Oh yes, absolutely. I will tell you, my grad class was 48 people, really small, and we're almost all still in touch. And
wow.
Yeah, where most of us are cousins of one sort or another. Like, it's a really remote, small part of the world. Deep roots. People here have I'm friends with people who my grandmother and her grandmother had a feud back in the 50s, and about it. Like, it's that kind of thing. And as a mystery writer, coming from this kind of place is so useful, because I have part of writing a mystery is really digging into the hidden connections between people. And I know all that. I call it the web of connection. I know how everyone in this town is connected. I know who everyone's multiple generations back. You go to the graveyards here and you see the same names that you went to school with. So yeah, it's definitely, we're all still connected for sure. It's a great spot.
So fun in a very unique way.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of unique, there is a blip of a thing that comes up late in the book. This is not a spoiler, but it is so specific to being gay at a point of technology.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
So there's talk of you log onto your old computer and you see the files that you downloaded from the internet and hid in a folder labeled math class or whatever, and it's really hunky man or whatever.
Aberfitch.
What is that story of yours?
It's amazing when I think back to it. I did not have an email address when I graduated high school. I went to college and got my first email address. And when you think about how much more accessible all the stuff is to everybody, back then you really had to work for it. I would come home and I would be home for a holiday, and my parents had this big, heavy, beige computer in the family room. And I would wait till everyone went to bed, and I would download stuff, and it would be save JPEG and put it in a little floppy disk, and then put that on my computer and then label it math class. That's how I carried.
Oh, you literally labeled it math class?
Probably not, because nobody would have believed that, but something of that nature. It would all be mislabeled.
I wasn't sure if you remembered specifically, because when I was a teenager, some of my best friends, I won't give them away, but they had a VHS of porn, and they kept it in the box of the Inspector Gadget movie.
Oh, classic.
And so they would always call porn Inspector Gadget.
I love it.
So
I might have to steal that.
It's yours. But so yeah, when I think of Inspector Gadget, I think of porn.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah, that's reasonable. When I think of math class, I think about various images from the past. It was honestly, and I tried So one of the challenges of this story for me was I didn't want it to be a YA novel. I wanted
Sure.
it to be an adult novel. The characters are in middle age. It's really, but I also really wanted them to be connected to the people they were in the past. So that's why I have that sort of prologue set back then. But then once you get through the prologue at the very beginning, which is set 25 years ago, everything happens now. But I needed there to be these moments, these touchstones between the people they were in the past and the people they are now. And that character, Joey, he was a computer nerd back in school, and he had the big beige computer. And he goes back to his childhood bedroom, and it's sitting in the corner. It has the little plastic slip cover over it that he takes off. And he has this visceral moment of reconnecting with his younger self as he sits down and he gets into that sort of sense memory of being at that computer that he sat at as a kid. And I actually really enjoyed those scenes where he gets back into and he goes back into his old school hacker mode. And it was a way for me to bring the teenage years back into the present in a really physical way. So those were definitely fun scenes to write.
I mean, it made me sad that I don't know where that computer is
Yeah.
from my childhood.
Or the
I was
Inspector
like,
Gadget tape.
that, who knows? That wasn't mine. But I was like, oh, what would logging on
Yeah.
be like, and what would I find? And there are
Yep.
things that I would save AOL Instant Messenger conversations, and I would save JPEGs, and I wrote plays and short stories.
Yep.
Like there's so much on that computer that it's its own time capsule of me.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we've lost that chunk of technology because we didn't really know how to hold on to
Absolutely.
it. I say
Entirely
shame,
different.
but plenty of people are probably thrilled that we've lost that chunk of technology.
Yeah. I mean, we've gained a lot, but we've lost a lot as well. And I think I feel fortunate to have grown up in that period where we didn't have any kind of internet or social media, but I also experienced the kind of dawning of it because it felt really magical at the time when you were AOL Messenger, MSN Messenger, you were connecting with people in chat. I remember IRC chat rooms, and it was really rudimentary when you think about it now. It was so old fashioned looking, but it was at the time insane. I remember chatting with gay guys. I was probably 20 in my dorm room, chatting with gay guys in Iceland, being like, this is nuts. I'm never going to meet him. So there's like a bit of safety in this distance, but wow.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't mean anything. It's all there. Everybody's there. It's a big, broad, taken for granted mishmash.
There is a guy who I met in a Yahoo chat room when I was probably 14.
Yep.
He wasn't out of the closet. He had a girlfriend. And we became buddies on AOL Instant Messenger. We met in the chat room. Then we started chatting on Instant Messenger. And then I think the dawn of MySpace, we connected on MySpace. Yep. The dawn of Facebook, we connected on Facebook. The dawn of text messaging, we connected and we would text. And we've met in person one time.
Wow.
And we're still connected.
Well, but how do you still use AOL Messenger? How do you chat?
Now we text. Now we're texting friends.
I kid.
But it's funny, I knew him, quote unquote, when he was closeted with a girlfriend in high school.
Yeah.
And now he's married to a man with 2 children. And it's
no kidding.
Fascinating. the journey that we go on.
Yeah, for decades. And those were the early days of online friendships. We didn't even know what was happening. And now it's so old hat. Everybody is connected online, and teens in particular, they just have access to this giant world of TikTok and Instagram. But back then it felt really, and if you were a closeted queer young person, having access to other closeted queer young people that you could have a completely wide open, tell me about your experience so I can tell you about mine. It was life-changing, life-saving in a lot of ways.
It's interesting that you say that because I think even now we're able to meet people through social media and in more unique ways than, meeting at school. We're meeting in sort of non-traditional ways like we were when we were younger. And even just yesterday, I was chatting with an Instagram buddy who I only know through the world of Instagram about relationships. And he was apologetic about being so grim and only talking about the bad things happening in his relationship. And I was like, honestly, as gay men, as humans in general, it is so important that we have conversations like this because we're not. There are complicated and difficult conversations and to not feel alone
Yeah.
on the journey of life. It's something we don't even realize how much we need. And that as a young gay person, finding that solace in a chat room,
Yeah.
I think makes it happening now less strange.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, I think we were also a bit less guarded back then, or less contrived. I remember just having these really open conversations. People now young people are, it's such a sophisticated approach to being online because we've learned how to present ourselves in a certain way. Whereas in the past, I'm sure there was a little bit of BS, but it was more of just sort of this is me and this is you. But now it's a little bit more there's a bit more artifice to it now, I think.
There's also like, everyone knows that you can snap a picture on your phone and send it immediately.
Yeah.
Right. Once upon a time in a chat room or on AOL Instant Messenger, it was not that simple.
No. Yeah.
And if you had the digital camera, then you could take a picture with the digital camera, but then you had to plug the camera into your computer and upload it onto the computer. Like, it was a whole production for one picture. And then, the file was corrupted, so you need to do it again.
Yeah. It feels so innocent to me now when I think, and that is something I tried to get. I really wanted to hit that year 2000, that Y2K vibe in this book.
It's really fun.
I'm glad you picked up on the math class.
Of course. Are you kidding? I had those folders. I wish I remember what they were labeled as, because they were definitely something
salacious.
Like math class.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm very curious to know, what would your role be in solving a crime?
I would not be the computer genius for sure.
Okay.
I am, of the three characters, there was a point when I was writing this book where I really very articulated, I was being a little bit too cutesy with it, where Sam was the street smart, Alice was the social smart, and Joey was the tech smart. And I was like, this is too cute by half. But I think I'm definitely not street smart. Drop me in the middle of any city, I will get lost. I can't do it. But I think I'm pretty socially adept. I like people, and I think my job would be getting in and sliding into a conversation with somebody and getting clues by getting to know them, and really having those in real life conversations that you were just talking about. Really getting deep. And I'm very much an open book. You can ask me literally anything, and I like to have those conversations with other people where tell me about you. Because the most fun conversations to me are the ones where I'm finding out about somebody else, as opposed to, and I think maybe that's the writer in me. I love to hear other people's stories. I love to hear where people grew up. I love to hear about how many siblings do you have? Were you close with did you have neighbor friends? What's your house like? I love that stuff. And so I think that would be my skill as an investigator, would be just getting to know the characters and soft interrogating. I would be the good cop for sure.
Listen, it's good to know your skills, and it's good to know where you would slide in, because who knows when the mystery will be afoot. Were you a Harriet the Spy fan?
Oh my gosh, yes, I have an original first edition.
No way.
Yeah, battered. I found it at a thrift store. It's a Canadian first edition, and it's beaten. It's not worth anything, but I have it. I loved Harriet the Spy. Loved it.
That's really fun. It has come up a handful of times as very queer coded as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
And so that's just really fun. And a lot of young gay men have responded really deeply to Harriet the Spy. And like, when I was a kid, I remember having a speckled notebook and just like observing things and writing it down, because I found the sociology of it all so interesting.
I have to show you this, because I didn't know if you would ask me about other books, but have you read The Little Friend?
I have not.
Mirrored, unfortunately. This is Donna Tartt's second book. She's only written 3 novels. One is The Secret History. Actually, these are backwards, sorry. But
no, they're not. I see them just fine.
Oh, you do? Okay. Secret History was her first big book. Donna Tartt wrote The Goldfinch. She won a Pulitzer Prize. Her first book was The Secret History, which she wrote when she was at university. She was at Bennington College, and she wrote it, and she made it was 1992, and it was a massive publishing deal, and it was this huge juggernaut book. It's one of my favorite books. And then The Goldfinch, and then 10 years later, she published The Secret History, and then 10 years after that was The Goldfinch. So she's only written these 3 books. One of them was a massive young, like a story of out of nowhere young writer does good. Goldfinch won the Pulitzer Prize. The Little Friend, her second book, is the one that gets the least respect, but it's my favorite. And it's about a young detective, and her name is Harriet, and she lives in a small town in the south, and it's really good. It's big and fat and dense and really beautifully written. And she's trying to solve the mystery of her infant brother was murdered. Her brother was murdered when she was an infant. He was 5. And nobody ever discovered what did it. So 10 years later, it's the summer of her, I think she's 11 or 12, and she's trying to solve this murder. And I'm convinced that she's called Harriet as an homage to Harriet the Spy, who was the OG. The OG.
I love
detective.
that. Oh, this is good to know. Okay. I have not read Donna Tartt at all, so I should
nothing.
probably
Oh,
start
wow.
there.
Oh, yeah. So
I
good.
know. I'm a late in life novel reader, so I missed
Fair enough.
Goldfinch. You know?
Yeah.
Hearing that mystery thing, I will leave you with this, because when I asked you about are there any mysteries in your life that come to mind, I harken back to a wonderful podcast series that only had 1 season, and I loved it so much, so I want to shout it out, but it's called Mystery Show
With Starlee Kine.
with Starlee Kine.
So good.
And for listeners who have not heard about it, it is basically these like non-important mysteries in someone's life that they like pitch to this woman, and she solves them. And things like there's a belt buckle that someone's grandfather has always had and they want to know where it came from, or there was a video store that just disappeared overnight one day and they want to know what happened to the video store, and someone wrote a novel that didn't do very well and Britney Spears had it in her hand in a photo, and it's wait, why the hell did Britney Spears have this? Was it Britney? I think it was Britney.
It was Britney.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
So these like super fun little mysteries that we don't really think about. I think a lot of us, when we think of mysteries, we think of murder.
Yeah.
But there could be a lot of fun little unsolved mysteries. So I hope Mysteries
love
get
that
solved
show.
for you. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a great show. And I think that's the thing. There is mystery all around us, and the structure of the mystery is always just built in, and we're fine. I think we're fine-tuned as humans to ask those questions and go searching for those answers. So we're all detectives of a sort.
We are. And everyone, go get your copy of We Had a Hunch. It is fun and cozy and delicious, and you're going to be on the edge of your seat the whole time until the very end.
Thank you.
Tom, have a wonderful rest of your day.
I appreciate
Thank you so much for being here.
So much fun. I had a great time.
Just gay weird time.
I love the pillow accoutrement you have behind you.
Oh, yeah, I have a lot of random pillows.
Is that a loaf of bread pillow?
It is, yeah.
Yes. Where did that come from?
It was a Secret Santa gift, or white elephant, yeah. I picked the biggest thing, and
Genius.
I'm like, oh, there's a loaf of bread.
What did you hope it was going to be?
I don't know. I just tend to go for the biggest things. Just because, like, when it's all wrapped in things, and I'm like, all right, like, at least it's not going to be, like, a little hand sanitizer or something.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. I feel like we're taught that as kids, right? The biggest box
Yeah.
has the best toy. And then as you get older, you learn that like, the money comes in small packages.
Small packages, yeah. But then also small packages at White Elephant can be very underwhelming. Like sometimes there's just like a Starbucks gift card or like an air
Yes.
tag. And I'm like, okay, I'd rather take my chance on something fun.
Right, 100%. Yeah, I went to my husband's office, White Elephant, years ago, and I picked up a similarly shaped item, and it ended up being a blanket from that like fancy Canadian company. And I was like, oh, this is a high end, this blanket.
Like a fancy. Was it like wrapped in a circle and then there was like wrapping in the middle?
Maybe?
Because there was one year where like around holiday time, Costco carried pendulum blankets. And then I saw so many of those blankets at White Elephant too.
It's very possible. That's what I was. Oh my God, that's so funny.
And I don't know when I'm sounding like such like a white elephant snob. Like I'm not at not at all.
Are you invited to a lot of White Elephants? I feel like I
Oh.
haven't done one in a minute.
I love going to if I'm invited, I will go. Like last year I went to one where there was like 60 people there. It was like the most intense like white elephant that I've ever done. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting to see what people bring to these things.
What people bring, and it's interesting to see the strategy of the exchanging and what people do end up going for, and you only get one or two I don't know, it's complicated, but you learn a lot about someone
It's true.
based on their white elephant gift they bring and the gift they choose.
Hmm.
This is interesting.
I went to one where it's a bunch of like middle-aged Asians, and I got a hold of Labubu. This is like when Labubu crazy was its peak, and everyone's like trying to get one.
Oh
You
my
can't get one.
God.
So I brought a Labubu thinking like, oh, they're gonna eat this up. This is going to be the best gift. Everyone's gonna steal this. And not a single person in the room knew what that was. And the person that picked it was like, oh, it's a toy. And he looked so offended. And I was like, I thought everyone would be fighting for this Labubu, but no one cared.
And then probably 6 months later, everyone was like, oh my God, I wish I took the Labubu. I know. Oh, that's so funny. Kimchi, welcome to Gaze Reading.
Thank you. I love to read in many ways.
Yes. Thank you for being my guest gay reader today. And I feel like the first question to ask, of course, is what are you reading? And that you could tell me all the things and all the ways that you're reading.
So, I mean, I love to have like a physical copy of the book, and then I love reading. But then also because I live in LA where I spend so much time in traffic,
Uh-huh.
I also like listening to audiobooks just because you spend like going anywhere during rush hour. It's going to be like an
Yes.
hour to go like 3 miles.
Yeah.
So,
So what is something that you've listened to recently that you've enjoyed?
so right now, I'm reading like two things. One is Crying in H Mart, and then the other one is I'm Laughing Because I'm Crying by Youngmi Mayer. I guess both themes of the both book is dealing with like generational trauma. He's like an Asian American, and I'm just like those
Do you
things
need
are
to
like
talk about something?
those things are like hitting hard right now in
Yeah.
this like a current political climate.
Yeah. Were you always a reader or listener to books?
Yeah, but I've actually been a reader all of my life. So growing up, our family was very poor. So like during summertime, like a lot of kids will go to like summer camp and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would just be at home, and I'd walk to the local public library, and I spend all day there just like reading and like using the computer, checking out magazines, borrowing as many CDs as I can to run it into my computer at home. And our public local library also had a program where if you read 5 books, they give you a little voucher for bagel and cream cheese at a shop nearby. So I'd
Okay.
read like a mad person because like my family wouldn't ever buy me those kind of like food things. So then that was like the way
Yeah.
for me to eat American food.
Oh, wow. Would you try to do that like once a week?
Multiple times a week. There wasn't a limit, so I'd make sure to read 5 books in one day.
Wow. What a genius idea.
Right?
So do you still love bagels and cream cheese, or did that turn into a hate for bagel and cream cheese?
Oh no, I love bagels and cream cheese.
What's your bagel order?
Oh, okay. So it depends on what city I'm at. If I'm in New York,
Yes.
I feel like bagels are gonna be like good no matter what. But like in LA, bagels aren't good.
No. In New
No.
York, what's your New York bagel order?
In New York, if I'm in the mood for something savory, I love an onion bagel with garden veggie cream cheese.
Mm.
And if I'm feeling something like sweet, then I love a blueberry bagel with plain cream cheese. But then also I love a good like lox sandwich, like the lox, tomato, capers, onions, like the whole shebang. Then when in LA, when their bagels aren't good, but then you go to these like specialty shop and everyone's doing these rip and dip bagels now. Have you ever had one of those?
No. What is a rip and dip bagel?
Instead of like bagel cut in half and cream cheese on it, you take like a whole bagel and you like rip a piece and you scoop the cream cheese.
Uh-huh.
This is like the whole like trendy thing all the bagel shops are doing.
Okay.
And it makes sense if you like cream cheese.
Is it a way to disguise a bagel that isn't that good?
I don't know. I think they're just trying to like make it like
Something fun.
something fun, or maybe it's like a social media gimmick because everyone's like
Oh.
ripping these bagels and then just like scooping up the cream cheese with the ripped bagels.
Uh-huh. Have you tried it yet?
Of course, yeah. I'll try everything, you know. Like
How
doesn't
was
have a true
it?
fat ass.
Was-
It's good. I'm someone who eats bagels so I can eat cream cheese. Bagel is merely a vessel and an excuse, if you will.
That's so funny. I feel like that's me with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I
Mm.
would just eat like spoonfuls of both
Peanut butter and
and
jelly?
jelly together, but that's too much. So
Then you must like Uncrustables.
I think I've become a peanut butter and jelly snob.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if Uncrustables were made with high quality peanut butter and preserves, then I totally would. But I can't just buy what is currently known as an Uncrustable and eat
Okay,
it.
but so my thing with good peanut butter is like how it's always so runny. So like how do you procure that in a solid peanut butter and jelly? Because like I love a good like fancy peanut butter too, but it also has to hold in like
Well,
synergy with the jelly and not drip all
most
over the bread.
most of them you're supposed to refrigerate after opening,
Oh, are
and
you?
that firms it up a little.
Okay.
And I recently looked into this because I left peanut butter out one day without putting it in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
And Google said that it slows down the like process of breaking down of the oils breaking down to keep it fresher longer, but like leaving it out won't make it go bad. It just would make
Mm,
it leave putting it in the fridge prolongs its life.
okay, I see.
So
I
you
see.
can leave it out,
Okay.
but the fridge firms it up a little. But then, okay, here's a hot tip. If it's too firm, it's hard to spread. So
Mm.
if you toast the bread a little bit,
And it gets a little
it gets
melty
a
and ooey
little bit
gooey.
melty and it makes it a little easier to spread. It still holds
Mm-hmm.
and is spreadable. Anyway, that's my PBJ PSA.
Okay. Obviously, like I just love talking about food.
Yeah,
And
of course.
that's
Before
why
we
I
talk,
like cookbook coming out, which is all I'm here to
yes,
talk about.
I know. Before we talk about your book, I have to know if this chapter of your life had a title, what would that be?
Right now,
Yeah, the chapter of your life that you're in right now.
right now, currently just feels like trying to survive while
Mm,
preserving my mental health. I every day I log into social media and then I just see like awful news. But then also I can't delete social media because like my work evolves around like doing a lot of things on social media. So it's like a
yeah,
double-edged sword where like I'm forced to be on these things, but then also like I have to navigate this medium in a way where I don't like spiral just reading bad news over and over. So right now, survive is the word that I would use.
love obsessed. I know it's unfortunate, but I feel like we're all in that together. But on a happier note, let's talk about your cookbook.
Yes, kimchi eats the world.
Kimchi Eats the World, which, when this episode airs, is out now wherever you get your books. 75 recipes fit for a drag queen. How
Yes.
did a cookbook come to be for you?
So I guess the whole idea started during pandemic.
Mm,
So for my work, I tour around the world and I get to eat like amazing, like delicious cuisine from all over the world,
mhm.
which is like the best part of the job for me. And when the pandemic happened and I wasn't traveling, and I'm like craving this dish from like Peru, and obviously like a lot of the restaurants weren't open either, like in Los Angeles. I'm like, I guess I'm just gonna have to like recreate these dishes at home
Mm.
using like American kitchen like ingredients or like ingredients that I can find in like American grocery stores. So then I just started cooking all these like global dishes at home, and I'm like, there's so much like beauty in like global cuisine. So hopefully like maybe I can introduce them to the audience to recreate those dishes at home.
Yeah.
Maybe like it'll spark like people's interest in like global cuisine too, because there's so much to like life outside of like chicken tenders and pizza.
That is very true. You call yourself a culinary connoisseur from a very young age. How did food become important to you?
So I guess growing up in both like America and Korea, and then being
Mhm.
able to taste the foods from like different cultures, and having like grandparents and parents who are like very passionate about food has opened my eyes to like the world of the culinary delights. And also like I'm someone who constantly needs new stimulation,
Mm,
and that stimulation includes like trying new flavor and textures and things like that. So even since I was young, I would like save what little money I had, and then I'd check out like if there's ethnic cuisine that I haven't tried before, like I have to go taste it.
mm,
So like I save my allowance and take myself like to the Thai restaurant in my town. When the Ethiopian restaurant opened up in town, like I had to go and try it. When my friend told me about an Indian restaurant that was like opening up, and I think that's how like my love of global cuisine got started. Just finding like new restaurants that serve like a whole world of flavors that I've never experienced before, And I'm still the same way like in LA too, where we have like food from like all over the world here. If there's a cuisine I haven't tried, I gather up my friends like, all right, I'm gonna go try Cambodian food today. Who wants to go with me? All right, I'm gonna try like food from
Yeah,
like
you're
Nepal. Like, who wants to go?
you are the friend to text when someone wants to go to a restaurant.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I my husband is a recent vegetarian,
Mm-hmm.
and the only reason why that's a bummer for me is because we would go to restaurants, and in order to try the most things, we would share a bunch of stuff. And so we don't
Mm-hmm.
really do that too much anymore. So instead, I have my list of friends who I know are like always game to just share a bunch of things and try whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So next time you're in town, I'll know to reach out to you. We can go try all the things.
Yes, please. I would love that. And also, like, when it comes to like Asian cuisine, like eating vegetarian is relatively easy,
Mhm.
but then also at the same time, when you like want to make a substitution in like a lot of these places, like a lot of places just don't like fuck with that. And on top of that, even when you order like a vegetable dish, there could be like a hidden pork somewhere.
Right.
And
Love
on
it.
the other,
I love the hidden pork, but not everyone
me too,
does.
yeah. But then on the other end, like when you go to a Western restaurant, sometimes like a vegetarian option will be like pasta, or oh, here's a piece of grilled mushroom. So
Yes.
vegetarians, I hear you, I feel for you.
I know. But you're right. A lot of Asian cuisine, a lot of Mediterranean cuisine, very solid vegetarian options.
And Indian cuisine also.
Yes.
Oh my
such
god.
good.
Vegetarian Indian cuisine.
Ethiopian.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's not terrible.
I guess you're just not going to the right place.
I don't know we are. I just like giving my husband a hard time. Okay. Your persona, your drag name is, of course, kimchi.
Mhm.
You have a recipe for kimchi in the book.
Mhm.
What does kimchi as a feeling mean to you? Where did the name come from? I didn't know that you could kimchi anything. I didn't realize that it wasn't just you or cabbage until the book. Now I know.
So kimchi is the national dish of Korea. And Korea is a country where 4 seasons are very distinct. So summer's going to be really hot and winter's going to be really cold. And to eat vegetables during wintertime, they started pickling vegetables. It's common in Korea, not in like the modern times, but back in the day during fall when it's like cabbage season, all the families will gather in, like large amounts and everyone will just pickle like large amounts of like cabbage and that'll last the entire year till the next fall.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, if I'm picking a drag name, I need to pick something that sounds feminine but also represents my culture, and kimchi seemed like the right fit.
Yes. And you are the national dish
Yes.
of drag.
For the national food of Korea. So the kimchi recipe in the book is a tomato kimchi. I have a tomato painting behind me.
Oh, yes, you do.
I love tomatoes, but also there's a lot of kimchi recipes out there, and traditional kimchi is very like time consuming. But I want to just do a little quick kimchi recipe in there and like a familiar ingredient. Everyone becomes like familiar with the idea of kimchi, and kimchi doesn't have to be hard and difficult. It can be quick, simple, flavorful, and healthy. So, well, kimchi is always healthy, but you know what I mean.
Glamorous, fabulous, right? Kimchi
Yeah.
can be all sorts of things.
Yeah, spicy.
It's a set. It's a mindset.
Kimchi's a feeling.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Zesty, it's pungent. It's full of probiotics.
Yes,
You're definitely
right.
going to be pooping real good.
So healthy. Oh my God. The pictures in the book are so fun. I am so excited to cook things from this. I'm curious if for the listener who is flavor curious, who is nervous about trying Korean food, who is maybe not into spicy things or fermented things, where would you say is a good place to start?
I feel like Korean cuisine has become one of like the least like intimidating like cuisine to try in US right now with popularization of like K-pop and K-drama and like just Korean media in general. There's so many Korean restaurants popping all over like the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like picky and if you like don't handle like those kind of food, there's so many dishes that you can get into. Like tteokbokki, for example, which is like a rice cake,
It's
like
so
spicy
good.
sauce, and you can load it up with cheese and noodles and
Yes.
sausages. Korean hot dog is also a good one, which is also there's a recipe for it in the book. It's like a cheesy hot dog, like covered with like sugar and whatever sauce you put on, ketchup, mustard.
Perfect.
Yeah, there's plenty of Korean dishes. You just have to be in a mindset to open your heart up and let it in.
Open your heart, your mouth, your belly.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, we have to quickly segue to you are taking over the world this year because we also have Donatella Hamachi
And the Library Avengers.
and the
Yeah.
Library Avengers, which is your young adult novel coming out. Like you are a font of content, Kimchi. Tell the people, what is this book about?
All right. It is loosely based on my life, but it's also very fantastical. As I mentioned previously, the public libraries are very important to me.
Yeah.
And one day I was reading about how a lot of the public libraries are getting defunded because a lot of people don't feel like libraries are an important resource in their town. And that made me really upset. So I tweeted about how much the public libraries meant to me and my experience with the library. And then that tweet ended up going viral, especially among the library community. And librarians from all over the world were reaching out to me saying, "Thank you for speaking up for us. No one ever speaks up for the librarians."
Mm.
And then a publisher reached out to me saying, "Do you want to write a novel about saving the public library?" So it's a story about a Korean American kid who is queer, and the mayor wants to demolish the local library to build a swanky mall. Him and the Library Avengers basically set on a journey to save the public local library.
Yeah. I love
And
that
hopefully,
so
like, maybe
much.
this book can inspire other children in the future, to be accepting of themselves and also love the libraries as much as I did.
Yes. Donatella Hamachi and the Library Avengers is also out now wherever you get your books. You obviously loved the library so much as a kid. You read so much to get your bagels and cream cheese. Is there a book that you remember from your childhood or even recently that really had an impact on you?
So all the works of Roald Dahl, especially like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, again, food themed.
Yes, yes.
But the world is like so imaginative too. Like all the squirrels like peeling like the nuts to like the little crazy world with Oompa Loompas and like the little like chocolate river. And this is before I even saw like any movie and things like that. I'd read that book over and over again, just imagining like what a beautiful world it would be to be able to visit a factory just full of these like sweet treats and
Yes.
magical. And
I love
then
that.
I also love the works of Beverly Cleary, like
Yeah, the Ramona Quimby books.
Ramona Quimby and all those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess because that was like a life that I didn't grow up in as like a
Yeah.
kid who just stayed in my room and things like that.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, so this is like what like an average American kid like grows up to be,
Yeah. As you're looking over the page, eating your bagel.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's the Roald Dahl books were, I think, super transformative for a lot of people. Yeah, Beverly Cleary, too. I remember reading all of those as a kid and has such an impact. Kimchi Eats the World cookbook is out now. Donatella Hamachi and the Library Avengers also out now. You have so much content. Everyone can find you online, on social media, much to our chagrin that we have to be there, but we are there. Anything else to share with the people about your books, about your life, about anything?
Yeah, please support my books because especially in times like this, it means a lot to have queer literature.
Yes,
And
it
like
does.
queer authors,
Amazing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh my god, I've been having so much fun just chatting with you.
I'm so glad. Tom, Kimchi, thank you both so much for being here. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Bye.